This NBA Finals Game 2 Picks edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Edge Boost. Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to get started today.
Hey folks, this is Bud Foster. You're listening to SGPN. Let's let it ride.
Cox. He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, second the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog. Sorry, Sean. I was doing some social media as the show was started. I actually thought it might be a great time for me to debut the bit where I was out doing the social media and you accidentally.
Oh yeah.
Oh, here we am. We're making some
in
social media.
Morant.
Oh shit! No, Sean!
Oh my God.
No.
Oh wait, sorry. I wasn't supposed
Oh wow. That could.
I wasn't supposed to be flashing my gun. I always forget Instagram Live. I assume you just break out your gun. Actually, Ryan, this was the perfect.
That might get us more heat than my Trey Lance take on the internet. Jesus.
Actually, kind of a weirdly perfect time to debut that bit that we were sitting on. Took me a while to find my BB gun in my garage.
I like what you did there. That was cool. Cool it off a little bit.
Yeah.
Explicitly call it a BB gun.
It's because Adam Silver in his press conference before NBA Finals Game 1 said
So funny.
he didn't want to distract with the Ja Morant news, which
That's
fact
not
that
what he
it's,
said. He said they found a lot more. And
Yes.
They didn't want to be distracting.
Yeah, so that to me sounds really bad news for Ja Morant. That if it wasn't going to be a major suspension, they would have just said, "Oh yeah, we'll talk about it later." But they said the fact that if they announced it, it would become such a distraction, it would take away from the NBA Finals. Ryan, congrats to you nailing the Nuggets Game 1 pick. Although, man, did the Heat almost backdoor that. We're going to recap Game 1, bring on the NBA guys, talk Game 2 picks. Lot to get to. I mean, the free throw discrepancy, that was crazy. Before we get to that, though, the month of May ended, aka Shady May ended.
We said a lot of things there with no rebuttal. Just throwing out the free throw discrepancy.
No, there's a lot to talk about.
Right,
there's
we'll
a lot
get to it. We'll get to it later in the show.
This is a radio tease, right?
Hopefully we get there quicker than Trey Lance's delivery
and his throwing release. All right, I am going to fire up the randomizer for everyone who entered Shady May promo code SGPN for Shady Race.
I thought you had told me before the show we were going to have a special guest randomize it. I don't have the video ready, but I thought we could just have. Don't wait. Oh wait, is this coming through my computer? Hold on.
Yeah.
All right, he's randomizing all the entries.
Zeke is picking a winner.
All
And
right.
congratulations, Michael Van Dyke. You just won $500 cold hard cash. Email us podcast@sportsgamblingpodcast.com to get paid today.
Sean,
Michael Van Dyke.
The people want to know.
Yes.
What is Zeke working out or jerking off? Yeah, I don't want to steal Adam Sandler's bit all the way.
Look that up for the kids. Great Adam Sandler.
That would almost be cancel worthy nowadays. Are they having sex or working out? Jesus.
All right, gonna bring on the NBA guys. Before we do that, shout out to Edge Boost, again, the world's first ever bet now, pay later Visa card. Perfect way to expand your bankroll. If there's something you really you really feel good about, hey, you deposit $100, they make it $200, and you repay that $100 over 4 weekly installments. Very, very easy. It's a good way if you're negotiating some futures bets, or you got to get down on a favorite where you're laying a bunch of money. Whatever it is, Edge Boost can really kind of help you increase your odds here as a plus EV better, giving you a little more bankroll to work with. And again, what's nice about it is 0% interest. I mean, imagine a world where you can get a little extra money for your bet and you're not paying any interest. That is a good deal if I ever heard one. Support SGPN and grow your bankroll. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to sign up. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. Must be 21 years or older to use. Problem gambling? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Joining us on the line, you know him from the NBA Gambling Podcast and the Tennis Gambling Podcast, Mr. Scott Reichel. Scott, how's the French Open treating you?
So far, so good. It does mean that I'm constantly sweating out matches in the middle of the afternoon. I may or may not have woken up at 9 a.m. To watch one of the matches that I had, but it worked out well in the middle of sweating out a plus 900 underdog, which has legs. So hopefully that ends up cashing. But overall, so far, so good.
Like it.
I like how, I mean, you can be very open in this space about your viewing habits. We completely understand that you're sweating out tennis bets and all. I assume the French Open actually goes 24 hours a day.
Well, and you know, Scott stays up late because you hear how pained he said when he goes, I woke up at 9 a.m. That was sounded like a brutal thing for Scott.
Seems like a good bedtime.
Getting up that early. Joining us as well from the NBA Gambling Podcast, Mr. Lonte Smith. Lonte, putting you on the spot here. What was your biggest takeaway from the finals game 1 last night?
Yeah, I thought that Joker just dominated the game without even having to score the ball. I thought that Denver's defense doesn't get enough credit for what they did. I saw a lot of Heat missed a lot of jump shots, wide open jump shots, which was somewhat the case, but a lot of that had to do with some of the things that Denver was doing defensively. So I thought Denver's defense was really good. I thought Joker just imposed his will by, not even taking a jump shot or a field goal attempt until the end of the first quarter, going into the second quarter. So yeah, that was my biggest takeaway, man. Just Joker and the Denver defense.
Yeah, I mean, I look like an insane asshole with my under 2.5 assists for Joker in the first quarter. I think like he had 5, I think, in like 6 minutes. It was really, really insane because I thought the Miami defense would try and force him to become the shooter, but they really beat Miami to the point there, and he became the ultimate distributor. Just spreading the ball over. Denver was hitting their shots. I did think that Miami did get a bunch of decent looks. This is an interesting stat. Tonight was the second fewest points that Denver has scored all playoffs, and it was the second worst that the Nuggets have shot from 3 this postseason. All that, and they still won by double digits. You could look at it a couple different ways, but obviously that's a massive red flag for this Heat team.
For those of us not in the time machine, Thursday night, when the game was played, not tonight.
What did I say?
Tonight. I'm just that might confuse people.
Okay.
They could be in the future. They could be in the. I mean, my takeaway? What did I say to you when I returned to the offices last night as the game was wrapping up? Denver didn't even play that well. They didn't. That wasn't even like their peak game. I hate to point out how right I was.
It pains you to point out how right you were.
I had to go against all you idiots. Not you guys, of course. Moonoff and Terrell were the idiots in this case. But it just seemed like this was obvious.
No, I'm kind of kicking myself, but
a little shocked they made a run in the second half. But
to my credit, they did make a push there late in the fourth, and that back door was kind of open. If they hit like just 1 or 2 shots there,
which
in those last couple of minutes,
because typically Miami would say, you know what, we'll try next time. Hopefully they didn't burn too much of the fuel. Again, one of our series exact results is still alive. Denver wins game 1.
I gave out Heat in 7, right on pace right now. They need to lose 3 games. Got 1 loss out of the way. Feeling good. Scott, what was your biggest takeaways from game 1 here?
Well, for the record, I know that Delonte and I were both pretty heavily on the Nuggets in game 1, and I know that
had you guys
I also had Jokic triple double and Denver to win, so I ended up sweeping the podcast for it. But I wasn't surprised. I thought Denver was going to kill this team in probably 4 or 5 games, and nothing's really changed for me. I know it's going to sound disrespectful because Miami's been counted out every single series. I get all that. Denver's just significantly more talented, and unlike Milwaukee and Boston, they're also well coached. So I don't really see them blowing many double-digit leads. What really stuck out to me was something that I kind of expected going into the series. Denver's just significantly bigger than Miami. And when you're looking at Bam trying to guard Jokic, good luck. We saw in the fourth quarter when Jokic wants to score, he could drop 40 in almost every game. And then we saw Aaron Gordon in the first couple minutes, who was going crazy, had double-digit points. Miami doesn't really have the size. We saw some regression from Caleb Martin and from Duncan Robinson. I know Vincent was very good in game one, but the point is, it does seem to me that Denver is just the much better team. And even though you can make an argument they were exhausted and they're going to look better moving forward, which is also why I did like Denver. I just really hated the scheduling spot for Miami and altitude. But overall, I thought Denver would win in 4 or 5. I gave out -2.5 games in the series at +145. I believe it's down to -120 now. No offense to Miami, but they need a lot of things to go right in this series. And I do agree with Ryan. The Nuggets didn't play that well offensively. Defensively, they look pretty good. But I do think at the end of the day, Denver can get whatever they want, at least significantly better looks more often than not against Miami, or at least by comparison. I had Denver winning the series comfortably, and nothing's really changed. So, yeah, give me Denver in 4 or 5.
As I continue to climb the ladder in the youth sports streets, as the kids get better, there's one thing that becomes more and more evident when you watch these matches. The team that's bigger and stronger generally has it gets silly because at some point they all have the same skill and it comes down to who's bigger and stronger.
Can't teach size, Ryan.
And unfortunately, your Miami Heat are a scrappy underdog against mythical creature Nikola, AKA the Joker.
It is. I do like.
How
Joker.
are you rooting against this guy?
How can you,
Sean? If you fell asleep at night,
corner.
If you fall asleep at night and you dream up your basketball moment, at the YMCA or in a professional league, it resembles you being the Joker for a night.
Okay. All right. I like
being able to put up a 50-point triple double.
He is a super fun guy to watch.
That elbow shot that you've mastered.
I am good. I am good from the elbow. He is super funny in interviews too.
You're rooting for Jimmy Butler, the guy that dominates you at the gym on the regular.
I like the heart of Jimmy Butler. They had Jokic in the post game interview and they asked him, does he ever give post game or pregame pep talks? And he's like, no, I don't. he goes, we have a lot of veterans. They say a lot of good things. If you listen to their good things, it is good. Like he's like, no, why would I do a pregame speech? I don't need it.
But the biggest thing that tells you that maybe people like the sharp people out there that help create these prices or help move the markets, the series price didn't quite double, but it adjusted a lot considering.
Really, what's the series price at?
It's almost 6-1.
Really? Because I would have assumed it would have been pretty close.
We always say this, right? Denver was supposed to win that game. They won by a couple points north of the spread, so it wasn't even that much of an outlier result, and we're going to move the series price this much.
So you're saying double down on Miami?
I certainly think this would be a great time to buy Miami, but what it's more saying is I think people are seeing through the bullshit of oh, maybe Miami can do something to slow this down. I don't know if they're going to get one on the road.
Getting the conspiracy theory stuff out of the way. How do the Miami Heat? I'll ask you, Lonte. How do they only get 2 free throw attempts? I don't understand that. And I can't even go back and figure out specifically what call, but that is a playoff record. Only 2 free throws attempted. What's going on here? Do you think the league does anything to make up for it come Sunday?
Well, interesting you say that, but I just think they weren't in attack mode. I mean, they weren't able to get to the paint. The only person that one person took both of those free throws, and that was Highsmith. And they didn't shoot. They didn't even attempt a free throw in the second half. Both of those free throws came in the first half. And I want to say that wasn't even off of a drive or anything. I want to say they were kind of in the penalty, and he just got fouled. So I think they got to be more aggressive. Joker was in drop coverage pretty much the whole time, which allowed Bam to have the ball in his hands more. And instead of him attacking Joker, he was more so just settling for jump shots. Now he was making them, which I think is what Denver wanted him to do. I don't think Miami can win with Bam being their best player. So I think that was part of the game plan. And Butler wasn't attacking Martin, who he does shoot pretty well from 3. All those guys do, but they're better when they're in attack mode. So a lot of long twos. I thought Denver did a great job of running Miami off the 3-point line early, and then Miami got settled in early with their offense. Late in their offense, and started making some of those threes. But I just think the attacking wasn't there. Even in transition, they were a negative. What is this? Negative 1.7 points per possession in transition. So they weren't turning the ball over. Denver, that is, wasn't turning the ball over that allowed them to get easy points and get out in transition. I thought Butler just wasn't aggressive.
Yeah, no,
he was.
They didn't no, you're right. They didn't force the issue. They were getting open jump shots. You know, Bam was hitting them, but then they were also cold for a long.
Wow, everyone's blowing smoke up Spoelstra's ass, and he walked right into the trap.
He did.
The 100%. Mike Malone's plan was to have Bam shoot 25 times. It was clear in the way that they were playing defense, and he did.
Yeah,
they fell for the fucking trap.
I think one positive.
What's the adjustment?
One positive for the Heat is Highsmith. He obviously had a very good game offensively, and I thought gave him some good minutes on defense against Joker, if that's possible. But Scott, what's your take on Highsmith, and is that something maybe they can build on if you're the Heat? Like, what do you do here if you're the Heat?
Well, this is kind of the problem Miami runs into, because we talked before about how Miami's undersized. The problem is you're looking at who they can use for the actual wings. It's Max Strus, who went 0 for 10 from the floor, 0 for 9 from 3. And you might be wondering, well, they can't use them again, but then you're going once again extremely undersized. So Miami's got problems here. Strus probably should play less and give more minutes to Highsmith, who I thought was solid. But I do want to kind of go back to the free throw discussion a second ago. Sean, I'm going to ask you, because you brought it up. At any point watching the game, did you think the officiating was that bad in favor of against Miami? Because Miami had 2 free throws. They mentioned it earlier in the fourth quarter. I think Breen said something with like 9 minutes to go. Before that, I didn't even think about it. I really did not think the officiating was that bad in game 1, which sounds crazy because Miami, once again, only attempted 2 free throws. But it really just seemed like Miami was constantly settling for jump shots, didn't really attack the rim. And as a result, I didn't really see many missed calls, so to speak. There were a couple of Bam layups where maybe you could have called something, but then the replay showed that he might have bobbled the catch. But for the most part, even though the officiating could suggest from a free throw perspective that Miami might have gotten the short end of the stick, I really didn't think it was that bad. Maybe it's just me. Did you guys agree? Because I really didn't see any egregious calls that were missed throughout the game.
That's the scary part.
As a guy,
it seemed like Miami played better than expected, in my opinion. Denver didn't really do anything special. And to your point, in hindsight, looking at the free throw discrepancy, it's like, that's interesting, because it didn't feel like that for much of the game. So yeah, I don't know. I mean,
no. As a guy who had Miami +9, I didn't feel like we were getting totally screwed over by the refs. It was just something that jumped out at you at the end of the game. You're like, yeah, what the hell happened to the free throws?
I would say,
I think the adjustment's going to be less on the referees. I think it's going to be on Spoelstra's end of saying, yo, we need to force the issue. We need to attack the rim. And I think in the back of their heads, the refs seeing these historic stats for not. I think they might get a more generous whistle, but I think they're gonna need to get to the hoop to enforce
or this was this outcome, it being near the spread, was the outlier, and this was more likely to be a 25-point blowout. Because I mean, it felt like from much of the second half we were teetering more on blowout than we were on cover. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, yeah. and then they kind of
maybe what if the other side is true? Like, yeah, even with those free throws, they still get blown out.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
they haven't lost at home, Sean.
No, they haven't lost at home.
Haven't really been challenged at home.
Moving over to game 2, similar spread, sitting at 8.5. Total sitting at 214.5. Heat are +300 on the money line, -365 coming back the other way. Lonte, what do you like here for game 2?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Miami here.
Okay,
8.5. I got 9 as soon as it opened. I put 9. I still like it at 8.5. Anything above 7.5, I think is fine. We all pretty much agreed that they weren't in attack mode, so I think they'll be in attack mode in game 2. Jimmy was like harping on it in his press conference about he didn't think that they took good shots after he watched, I guess, some of the clips. But at the time, they seemed like good shots, but they were more so them falling for the trap per se.
Yeah, I think they were.
Malone.
Yeah, I think they were open shots, but they were low percentage shots.
Right. Yeah. So they were 21% of their shots came at the rim, which I think that should be north of 30. If you watched Denver play against the Lakers and even against Phoenix, I mean, they were in attack mode. They were constantly attacking because they don't have a lot of rim protection. So Booker and Durant had a lot of success going to the rim. And I think that has to be the recipe going forward for Miami. I mean, Jimmy was more passive. I seen him go to the lane and where he would usually rise up and hit a jumper, he was passing out of it, and maybe that had to do with a lot of the length of Michael Porter and even KCP, who's only like 6. I think he's only like 6'5", but his wingspan is really really long. Him, Aaron Gordon, I think those guys were having problems with adjusting to that length. And I would expect to see more Highsmith on Murray. I know you said you mentioned him on Joker, but I thought he was picking Murray up full court. Kind of cooled him off because Murray didn't do much in the second half.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I thought he did a great job on Murray. He's picking him up half court, making Denver get into their offense a little bit later in the shot clock. So they were getting across half court, maybe like 14, 15 seconds, and was causing them to rush and get into shots that they wouldn't normally get into if they were, if Murray was coming up the court without having that pressure on him. So, I like Miami here. I think the shots will fall. I do credit Denver's defense more than most. But I think some of the looks that they had, especially with Martin and Strus, I think they went like 1 of 18, 1 of 9, 1 of 10 or something like that. So, I mean, Strus, I think he was having more difficulty defending, and that was taken away from his offensive skill set because he was guarding Aaron Gordon, and we saw what happened whenever Aaron Gordon was inside the paint. He was dominating him. And I think he was having a hard time adjusting to that. I would like to see Kevin Love more. I don't know if he's hurt, but I think he'll be able to, stretch the floor and just get an extra body on Joker to have him see more looks. But all in all, I like Miami here. I mean, I think they come out. I think they are going to be feisty. They were feisty at the end of that game. I think that had a lot to do with Denver kind of letting their foot off the gas. But I agree. I think the shots will fall. I think they'll get to the line a lot more. Being not because of the officiating, but just because of the approach will be different and they'll be in attack mode more than not. So I like Miami plus the 8.5 here.
Scotty, what do we got for game 1? Are you just keep riding with the Nuggets? I mean, there's a case to be made for them as well. What are you doing?
Yeah, so for me, for game 2, you mentioned the free throw disparity. For the sake of that discussion, I do like the over in game 2.
Oh, yeah.
I think whether or not it was warranted, you will see an adjustment artificially to, let's just say, give Miami more free throws or give both teams free throws, because you make an argument that the disparity can't be that big. So since it was brought up, I do expect a few more ticky-tack fouls, maybe a few more fouls in the bonus, which result in free throws. So I actually lean to the over in this game. As for the actual side, I am going to go with Denver. At the end of the day, Denver did not shoot that well in the game, and they still were up 20 in the second half. Porter Jr. went 2 for 11 from 3. And if we're talking about being in attack mode, and Butler, for the most part, took the game off, Jokic didn't try to score for the first 3 quarters of the game. And then he tried to score in the fourth quarter and just casually finished with 27 points. Jokic proved in the fourth quarter he can score 40 in any game that he wants to in the series, and Miami can't do anything about it. I just think that Denver has an unstoppable force. Miami has no answers. And you can make an argument that maybe Miami's supporting cast will shoot better, and maybe you'll see, Denver's offense slow down a bit. But I think you're more likely to see Denver's offense play better than worse in game 2. Yeah. And I'm going to go with Denver again. Miami, I just don't think has the bodies to actually stop Jokic and to really contain anybody. And I do think that even though Butler said in a couple of comments leading up to the series, nobody cares if you're injured, that doesn't change the fact that he still might be injured. And I did think he might have tweaked something in game 7 against Boston. I'm on Denver. I think Denver wins this game by double digits again, but I do like the over. I think either Denver's offense gets it back on track or Miami gets a bunch of free throws. Either way, this total has dropped about 5 points from where game 1's line was. I like the over.
Yeah, it feels like an over adjustment. I'm with you, Scott. I like the over there.
That in the card.
Too.
Ryan, your Edge Boost Double Down play of the day, sportsgamingpodcast.com/edge to sign up. Again, double your bet with 0 interest. What are you doing, Craig?
Scott's on point. I when we broke down the series, I said it's going to set up where if Miami's smart, they're going to unload the clip in game 2. They're not going to be physically ready for game 1, unload the clip game 2. Now, all joking aside, we know the Heat, they're a veteran bunch. They like to enjoy a cocktail or two after a game to relax. They might not be up to speed on what that altitude's going to do. Maybe they get a little too fucked up. No, but I just think watching Malone coach this team, they understand they have a home edge and they want to put their foot on the throat. And I think I watched a Denver team that didn't play that well. And so I don't know if Miami's going to have to play like game of the series type stuff. I think this is the blowout. We didn't get it game 1. We get it game 2. We're lining up for an all-time must-win game 3 where we will be on Miami as a home dog. But in this one, take Denver. I think I'm going to play the latter. We're going to alt
ladder.
We'll alt it up to 17.5 or wherever you get the 4-1 window. We'll do that. I think Denver rolls again. I'm mad at myself.
Sean,
all playoffs. What have they done to teams at home?
They've won.
They've bent them over. And they've had their way. Did you listen to Scott? Joker wasn't even trying.
I did listen to Scott.
He was trying. He wasn't trying to score. And then the fourth quarter came around. Miami went on a run. And he's like, all right, I guess I'll score 17 points in the fourth quarter because I have to.
Keep going, Scott. Sorry.
Do you think Miami can stop him? Just simply put.
No.
Yeah, I don't think they have to stop him. I don't think they have to stop him. I think they just got to play better offensively. So the thing that I think Spoelstra is going to do is he's going to put Bam in the pick and roll more with Joker. If you watch, Bam was just taking jumpers, so he's going to probably have Jimmy be the screener and put Joker in the pick and roll, and have Jimmy get switched. I will have Joker get switched on to Jimmy, which will allow him to get him in foul trouble with the pump fakes, because we all know Joker is a little bit slower. But I mean, I don't think, when I looked at it, I thought Denver was the more physically imposing team, and that's usually, you don't really out physical Miami. That's their thing. So I think they'll come back being more physical and get to the free throw line, take some of the offense, take some of the defense, and transition into easy offense. But yeah, I don't disagree with you guys. I just think Miami is going to stay within the number. I think they still lose. Don't get me wrong. But I think they can lose by like 5 or 6 rather than 14 or 15.
Miami, I think, succeeds when teams get complacent, and I think this game too. I'm mad at myself
this coach
because
ain't getting complacent.
I'm mad at myself because coming in as soon as the matchup was announced, I go, "Oh, game 1, it's going to be all Nuggets," and then game 2 is when the Heat steal one or at least get that cover. And I talked myself into them in game 1. I'm riding with the Heat one more time here, catching the points.
Oh no,
because I think the free throws, I think they're going to attack the basket. I think getting used to the elevation these past couple days. And to Scott's point, I don't think you have to completely stop Joker to win the game.
Honestly,
I think you just need to do a better job.
Their best
defending him as a passer.
Let him score 60.
Yeah,
that's their best shot.
100% agree.
I agree with
because
that.
then
that's what Phoenix did. And one of the games they won, Joker dropped 53, but Booker had one of the best 2-game stretches of all time. And Durant also had 30 plus points. Who does Miami have for that? You got an injured Butler and Bam. And
Kevin
by the
Love,
way, people keep talking about how Miami can improve offensively. Are we sure Bam's going to hit all those mid-range jumpers again?
That didn't feel
I'm not sure he has to take them though. Yeah, it's
just saying. There's room, for both sides to kind of fluctuate.
Yeah, I agree. What about? I'm hearing reports that Tyler Hero might come back Sunday instead of Game 3.
That seems like a desperation move to me, but we'll see how he does. I mean, then again, you're assuming Tyler Hero, he'll immediately hit his stride and give them big minutes. He hasn't played in a month? Like, what's he supposed to play? 15 minutes?
He's just a threat. He's just a more offensive.
Oh, he helps. He definitely helps. But I'm just saying, even if Hero comes back, I wonder about rust.
It'll be good because Stan Van Gundy was really off put by his clothing on the sideline, so he'll be stoked. He'll be stoked that he's back in uniform.
Yeah, I don't know what that fishing hat is. Again, I probably sound just as
he's
old
got
as
that
Van
Top
Gundy.
Shot money, dude. He's hanging out with rich old people that no one tells him no.
Doesn't he have a podcast? Or no, that's Duncan Robinson that has the podcast.
No. Tyler Hero owns a piece. He was one of the first Top Shot ambassadors. Yeah. He has a piece. Hopefully he didn't get in the FTX business.
Yeah,
down there in Miami.
In the FTX crypto arena. He's gonna have to.
Maybe that's why he's dressed like that.
All right. Before we wrap things up, let's talk a little bit about our favorite props. Throw out a prop you like here for game 2, and also make sure the NBA Finals contest on the SGPN app, $100 gift card up for grabs. The Stanley Cup Final contest, $100 gift card up for grabs as well. Both free in the app. Download the SGPN app, get those going, and there are stuff specific for each game. So again, don't forget to open up the app and get your game 2 plays in over there. I'll kick off the props for me. And this is, I would wait closer till tip off because if Tyler Hero does play, I think this throws this off. But I'm going to go Max Strus over 8.5 points, just off the idea that he had 0 points. He's had 0 points 6 times this season. 5 of those, he followed it up with 18, 12, 13, 17, 13. He did have one back-to-back 0 game. So that is in the realm of possibility. But I think he just bounces back here at the very least and gets those 9 points.
He's 10-1 first bucket.
Okay, yeah. Let's. As far as my DGen only play,
#Degens only.
Max Strus first bucket. I do feel like sometimes they go out of their way if a guy had a particularly bad shooting night to set up a play or get him a look early, get him some confidence, and get him going. Scott, I know you like the over. I know you like the Nuggets, but any props you like jumping out at you here for game 2?
Yeah, so I see Michael Porter Jr. double at plus 180. I'm gonna go back to that. Maybe can find a better line if you shop around. But Porter Jr. has been great rebounding wise. He had a double in game 1 pretty easily. And I do think with Miami potentially taking Joker away from the basket, Joker needed that rebound with about a minute to go to get the triple double. So he only had 9. And I believe he had like 3 in the first half. So I do think that there's some room for other guys to step up rebounding wise for Denver. I'm going to go with Porter Jr. double because I do think that the rebounds might be there. I also do think Joker 30 plus points is worth a look. We saw how well he did scoring in 1 quarter. And I do wonder what adjustments Spoelstra is going to make. I think you're right. I think that he's going to try to force Joker to potentially drop 40, stop everybody else and see what happens. But it's mostly expecting Spoelstra to look at game 1 saying we can't let Joker get 10 assists in the first half again. We're going to have to try to guard everybody else. I think Joker points is worth a look, trying to anticipate what Spoelstra might do in between game 1 and game 2.
Well, Scott is a genius because over 27.5 is his number. But let's get cute. 7.5 first quarter. Spoelstra comes out, gives him the Olay treatment, tries to draw him in, defend 1 man instead of 5. And yeah, I do think maybe that's the move. We ladder his prop. Spoelstra's a smart coach. He has to know that this is. And honestly, it's probably that Joker understands that that's how they're going to try to play him. So he's like countering the counter, but
he's zagging off the zig.
There has to be a game where you just make it obnoxious for him and give him the treatment of just like, yeah, beat us with the points tonight. Just prove that you can. Which I
mentioned before in game 1, he had that many assists, but Porter Jr. only went 2 for 11 from 3. It could have been a lot worse in terms of assists. So there were a lot of open looks. I can see Joker potentially going nuts in game 2. Spoelstra decides, you know what, we're going to let Joker get his thing. But if we stop Murray and we stop Porter Jr., we got a shot. And maybe the officiating is going to have a bit of a light whistle in this game because of what happened in game 1. So yeah, I think Joker 30 plus points is worth a look.
Honestly, what a fun if you really dabble with those same game parlays,
what do you mean?
And you look at those reverse correlation stuff, if you took like Joker over like 39.5 points or whatever the adjusted like high number of his points, and Miami Heat money line with that theory that, you know, myself and Lonte and we've been discussing of letting Joker get his, and that maybe helps them get a win. I think that would actually pay out pretty huge because their system is designed to like look out for correlation, a la, you know, ton of Joker points and Nuggets win. It's not specifically built, and it rewards you odds wise for stuff like this, where you like the over on the opposing team point stuff, but you're taking the other team money line. So that one, if you want to go hardcore,
I'm building it right
now. Maybe I'll tweet that out because that
well, by the way, you also mentioned the 2 pick there. I mean, let's be real. If Miami's going to win with Joker going over his point total, just throw Butler 35 plus in there. Like, how are they supposed to win if Butler doesn't go for 35?
Yeah, and toss in the over for the game as well if they let you do that. But you're right. Like, yeah, you would have to pick because Butler would have to have a really good game to kind of counteract that. I'm just saying if you're playing into that theory of them letting Joker go off and that actually working out for Miami.
All right, so if you 110 to 1 for a Joker, Butler both to get 35, Heat win, and it goes over the total.
Right.
Now, once again, I think it's going to lose because I have Denver winning comfortably, but I like the idea.
Yeah. See, Scott even is on the opposite side. He's still even intrigued.
I'm always open to gambling creativity.
The version where Scott and I, let's see, we can even play it safe. Well, Scott will tell me not to.
Kramer and I think it might be a blowout, so I might take an alt Butler under, expect him to no-show game 2 again, and Denver potentially coasts.
Yeah,
I don't think he's no-showing.
I'm just saying, I think there's a possibility in there. That's kind of my point.
Shout out to the chat. Chat is lit. ZD Mills checking in, making bacon all the way in the southern hemisphere, aka New Zealand. Yo, how we doing, gentlemen? Love this diamond of a show. I don't even follow basketball, but you're dragging me in, getting me hyped for the NBA Finals. Lonte, haven't gotten your take on a prop that you like for game 2. What is jumping out at you as far as prop bets?
Luckily, I wrote down a few because you took my favorite one, which was Strus over
nice.
8.5. Yeah, kind of like him over his threes. Yeah, always. I think I'm gonna like him over his threes also. But my favorite one is gonna be Bam over 13.5 rebounds and assists combined. I think the ball will be in his hands more. I thought that coming into the series. One thing that I thought Denver did do was whenever he was sinking those jumpers, although they wanted him to take those and he just made them, they crowded his space a little bit more. And once they crowded his space, he was finding those backdoor cutters and slashers. He's also found Jimmy in the post, which Miami worked on more in the second half. So I think he's one of the better passing big men. They're not going to get any bigger overnight, so he has to continue to crash the glass. He's over this number in 4 of the last 7 playoff games, including 3 in a row. So I think he's going to have a 15 and 5 type of a game for them to be able to become competitive here. So I like Bam in the series. I liked him in the series, and I like him on a game-by-game basis. So, but this time I'll take 13.5 rebounds and assists.
Interestingly enough, he, like you said, he goes over this total 3 out of the last 4, and in the games when he didn't in the postseason, it's fairly correlated to how much he has the ball in his hands. Right. He's almost like the more like his shots correlate to all his other activity stats.
Yeah,
almost as if he plays better when the ball's in his hands. Well, so I like that angle. I mean, he had 18 in the last game in that same stat. So what would you say it was 13.5?
13.5. Yep.
Yeah. And Scott pointed out if Butler is quietly dealing with an injury, normally you don't do that in the NBA. You make sure everyone knows what a hero you are. If he is dealing with an injury,
well, Jordan blood. Remember, he's not LeBron.
He's
not seeing the best foot doctor.
He did address it. He said once again, nobody cares. So no matter how injured he actually is, he knows that the fans on social media are going to criticize him for his performance anyway, but he never denied having anything. Like clearly something's bothering him.
Yeah, it's like if I ask my wife, is something bothering you? Nobody cares. Well, it doesn't matter. No, I'm fine. You know.
Maybe it's the Shakira effect from he's in the DMs with Shakira.
Him and Shakira did follow each other on Instagram. So it could be a little distraction there.
Wait, Jimmy Butler?
Yeah.
And you haven't been using the new Jimmy Butler drop. Hold on.
There he is, him and his lady reconnecting on Instagram.
Yeah, how many of your sports betting podcasts have Shakira queued up on the soundboard?
All right, guys.
I wasn't sure where you were going to go. I thought that might have been like a hips don't lie transition, but you went full Super Bowl halftime, and I respect it.
I mean,
the sound drop's great.
Just an amazing drop. Works for so many things.
Well, thanks to Scott and Lonte for hopping on. Make sure you check the guys out on the NBA Gambling Podcast. Ton of picks, ton of podcasts for the NBA Finals. Make sure you get the contest. Download the SGPN app. Check out Scott French Open. I know there's a lot of tennis gamblers. The tennis gambling chat really lights up, especially when you got Jong.
Shout out Jong,
just going hardcore. That guy loves his.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you are a degenerate and you haven't found tennis, I understand finding tennis, and maybe it's just not for you. Maybe you like to sleep, but if you haven't found tennis yet, you should try to discover it, because it basically creates what golf creates in like there's stuff going on all the time. But then you
5 a.m. today.
Yeah, imagine you break that into.
That's when it started today. I mean, if you want some early morning action, maybe you sleep and you want to wake up with more money, or maybe you want to wake up in the middle of a very tense moment. Tennis is the sport for you, so keep that in mind.
And that's a great sales pitch.
I'm saying, if you want degen action, you wake up.
All right, hold on. I have to tell a quick story. I used to when I first moved out to California, I worked. In my first like corporate job, I worked with a guy. His name was Tronger, and Tronger knew nothing about gambling when I first met him. And me and this other guy in the area, we bet on games. Shout out to Bodog back in the day, Bovada, and we taught him how to gamble. Cut to like a year and a half later, this motherfucker's texting us, like he's paging us. We had a pager system because we were on call. And he would.
That's how old it was. He had a pager system.
He would and I know Scott will remember these days. He would page us in the middle of the night when there was a match that had already gone final that was still being offered for us to go in and bet and hope that they didn't discover their mistake before they paid us out. So shout out to betting on tennis and Tronger.
I think my ultimate example of degen stuff from back in the day was high school. I know what MoneyGram is, so let's put it that way. I feel like that kind of explains it, doesn't it?
Yeah. If you know, you know. Yeah, that's all you have to say.
Shout out to
right?
the people at the CVS counter.
I mean, you know.
Wow, this kid really loves sending money overseas.
Why do you need to
Where
buy?
are you sending this money? Guatemala?
Why do you,
Costa Rica? You know, just
Costa
casual, like
Rica.
17-year-old just walking into CVS trying to send money, like $200 at the counter.
Imagine a young Scott Reichel like, I'd like to send this.
Oh, you can put the
$300.
pieces together, but like, yeah, that's what happened. It was during the 5 dimes era before it went under.
Oh, yeah.
But people who know, they know.
They know.
It's like, why do you need to buy $1,000 in phone cards? That's all.
Oh man, there are a number of ways. All right, fun show. Thanks to the guys. Make sure you check them out on social media at XXLonteXX and at Reichel Radio.
Sean, you forgot to ask me.
What?
I didn't give you a degenerate play.
Oh,
I was just helping everyone else make degenerate plays.
What do you got, right?
Joker 40 points, 10-1.
Okay,
Let's go.
Oh my God.
That feels almost too easy.
too easy.
Yeah. You're gonna jump on that. They're gonna let them score.
It's a good
10-1.
It's a good hedge.
That's like a 24-point dog on a Sunday.
Yeah, that's not too shabby.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, second the money green, and he is Ryan.
I think basketball's back, Sean.
Kramer. Let it ride.